Just imagine that every year you have only one long vacation for 7 days. And if you want to go out for a trip, you will surprisingly be finding out that all people from your country just share the vacation time with you. Which means whenever you go, you will have to, let's say, chill in a crowded crowd. And after finishing your vacation, maybe with exhausted body and relaxed spirit, you'll just be surprised again to find out that you have to work one more day per week for the following 2 weeks. Is that hell? Or just something Chinese have to experience multiple times every year? In China, a long vacation is date-fixed nationwide block of days, like Labor Day, National Day, and Spring Festival. And it almost always comes with show, make-up workdays, days you have to work on weekends to pay back the holiday. This makes our holiday actually shorter than expected, and far more exhausting. Привет, товарищ, Angela Bush here, and today we are going to explore how burnout it could be to work in China. And this video will be divided into 3 parts. First part is how many holidays you have in total in China. Second part is the strange make-up work days. And the third part is the conclusion. Okay, are you ready to get tortured just like the Chinese?
Work, work. Work, work.
In China, we have limited types of leaves. Normal leaves include public holidays, paid annual leave, sick leave, and weekend. And yes, I will count weekend in. And many Chinese don't even have the weekend. Special ones are maternity leave, marriage leave, and bereavement leave. That's all. We don't have regular parental leave, although the government is encouraging us to breed more babies. What it is doing is just tax more on condoms and hope more accidental babies will come. As for burnout leave or mental health day, that's not a thing in China. We don't even have a counterpart in China. Even with so limited types of leaves, Chinese are usually not allowed to, or at least not encouraged to take leaves. Like annual leave is usually 5 or 10 or 15 days, which varies according to your employment period. But the question is, you cannot not just take leaves as you like. And as for maternity leave, taking maternity leave will raise possibility for layoff. In China, nearly 30% employees work for the employers that don't have the regulation about paid annual leave, which means these people could only share public holidays with other Chinese. And even in the employers, which have the related regulations, nearly 70% of the employees will not choose to take leaves. The most crazy case is that someone has taken any annual leaves for 10 years. There are 2 aspects about it. The objective one is that many jobs in China are designed with no abundance. Everyone is in charge of a small but specific domain. And nearly no one could back you up if you are on leave. Under that situation, sure, you can insist on annual leaves, but I feel better hope that no one will come to you on vacation. Or you will have to return to your work, no matter where you are. Actually, last year when I was on my annual leave, just sitting on a moving e-scooter and appreciating the view of tropical jungles around the streets, I was called to an important meeting to introduce my solution to a department leader without any previous notice. So I have to deliver my presentation on the e-scooter with all the streets noise around. And if something like that happened, I'll leave or just working from somewhere else. And there is also a subjective aspect. In China, the expected employees and the employees that may get promoted are perfect employees. Just like the terminology perfect victim, which means you should be, or at least behave flawless about your work. You should be fully devoted to your job, to your career. For work, no life. In the annual meeting of my last employer, the outstanding employee came to a lady who had been still doing the research with clients just minutes before she was about to come to the stage as a bride. And that's the way you get outstanding employees and get promoted in China. If you want to show your ambition and get promoted, you'd better not take any annual leaves. And now, let's count how many days of leave you have in total if you're working in China. Weekend, 104 days. Official holidays, 33 days. Annual leave, let's say 5 days. As an all up, 142 days. And if you cannot take annual leaves, minus 5. And if you have to work in an alternating 6-day work breaks, which means you work 5 days a week and 6 days another week in turn. And believe me, there are even more evil systems in China. But back to the topic. Back to the alternating 6-day work weeks. That means we have only 3/4 weekends left, which means 26 days. So the leaves you have in China for 2026 are 111 days. But is it the final? Or you're just approaching the surface of evil?
Work, work. Work, work.
So, if it's so hard to take personal leaves, what about these public holidays? They are legal ones, right? Well, to be frank, if you only talk about the days of public holidays, government announced it has 33 days for 2026. That seems quite a lot. Mid-level like Europe and the United States has around 10 days. And some other Eastern Asian countries have more than 15 days. But the question is, when we look closer into it, we just found out that these holidays are made by moving weekend around. So, minus the weekend, which we have already calculated last part, we have only 11 days. And after these holidays, Chinese citizens are always having to go through the make-up workday. It means days you have to work on the weekends to pay back the holiday. We don't actually get more days off. We just borrow the rest from the weekends. And the most annoying thing is not that we don't get our holidays, because all holidays are actually regulated and even given by the nation. But how long the weekdays around the holiday could be? In the craziest 2013, for each 3-day-long week holiday, we have to take a continuous 6-day work week. There's a metaphor to that. Chinese government thinks you could eat nothing for 1 day and eat 6 meals for another day and still be healthy. It leaves us exhausted, with no real relaxation, and that's why everyone hates it.
Work, work. Work, work.
Back to the calculating part. For public holidays, minus the weekend, we have 11 days, and minus the make-up workday, we have only 5 days left. And 83 days is the sum of leaves you have in China for a year. In other words, you need to work 282 days a year in China. And the actual statistics is that the average weekly working hours of China in 2022 is 84 hours, and there are 52 weeks a year. Turns up, there is 2496 hours a year. And as a comparison, US is 7090 hours a year. It's like Chinese is working 3 more months a year compared to Americans. Just as I mentioned before, burnout is not a thing in China, but Chinese may be the group who need burnout leave most. Have you ever heard a mysterious number from China, 996, which means work from 9 a.m. to 9 p.m., 6 days a week? And it was created 2016, just 10 years ago, as a schedule for developers to obey. Nowadays, the situation is getting worse and worse. A new mysterious number is created, 007. It does not mean that you have to work from 0 a.m. to 24 p.m., 7 days a week. I think no creatures on Earth could stand that. but it means unlimited working hours. First, you have to sacrifice your time to your job. There's no off-time work unless you have done your job. Second, you are 24 hours times 7 days on call, no matter who you are, where it is. And the system is not just limited in high-tech industry, but applying to all industries, all salaries, and all ownership. And ironically, this culture is now spreading to the high-tech employers of other countries. And the typical ones are major AI companies of United States. Some of them even ask for working extended hours in the JD. I don't know if it's because there are so many Chinese inside these companies, so that they're like being culturally colonized. And if you agree that people who work for major AI companies are the ones who are smartest on the earth, and if the smartest one also choose to work extended hours, doesn't it mean that this schedule or system is actually a more effective one? But the question is, effective to whom? What are happening right now just reminds me of US-Soviet arms race. Irrational invest may bring some accidental advance, but in the long term, it will only bring a long period of burnout and confusion. When working overtime is a must or an obligation, it's easy for people to become tool, only caring about doing what is assigned to them quickly, without thinking about why everything is set up this way, and what is really important in their lives. There's another kind of alienation. I know that China has culturally exported some stuffs very successfully, and many new creations in China are viewed as advanced, convenient, and the trend of the future. The question is China seeing the future again in terms of working hours? And will China's choice become the world's choice? After long fighting in the history, people finally get working hours of 5 days times 8 hours. But nowadays, we are even trying going back. I heard that EU is trying to do some compliance work, that products from extended hour working factories could not go into EU. Will that work? What's your opinion about the future? Please feel free to leave your comments. And welcome to share this video to your friends or families who may be interested.